Another day, another trade rumor swirling around the New York Knicks, and Chris and I are here to break it down. What's up, guys? It's your boy Dariel and Chris from Knicks Digest, and we're here to break down the report that Bleacher Report came out with earlier today. 3 trade targets for Knicks to consider before rumor mill picks up. All right, so Chris, before we get into the 3 players, did you take a look at the article? Did you read it? And what were your feelings towards the article?
Yeah, so I read through the article. I remember looking at it today, just going through Bleacher Report, looking for Knicks Digest topics, as we always are. And basically, it caught my eye. And I was curious if this was going to be an article that's more talking role players that the Knicks should add. And a name I expected to see that we did not was Bojan Bogdanovic.
Hmm.
Um, and I was just curious, like, is this going to be one of these Knicks for clicks? Let's put like Joel Embiid and Zion and Donovan in the article. And that's not exactly what we got, but as you know, it's sort of what we got. So
Yeah. All right,
uh,
so let's dive right into it. The first player that we're going to be talking about OG Anunoby. And Chris, before we give our thoughts about this guy, let me throw some numbers at you. So for the season, he is averaging 15.6 points, 4.1 rebounds, 1.9 assists. He's shooting 47.7% from the field. And as far as three-pointers, he's shooting 37.1%. 37.1 is not terrible. It's not great. But now that I threw some numbers at you, what was your overall feeling seeing that OG Anunoby was the first player that Bleacher Report talked about?
I was excited by this one, honestly, because as you put out, his numbers are pretty solid, all around decent numbers. But the thing that's unsung is the defense. OG Anunoby is an elite on ball defender. He could slide in at the 3 or the 2 next to RJ Barrett pretty flawlessly. I like his fit with Brunson. I like his fit with Julius Randle. He doesn't demand the most touches. And that's something that's huge for him. I know he does want more, and maybe with the Knicks he would not see that. But I think overall he would fit in beautifully with the Knicks. And obviously, I have to add it in. He is a CAA client, so he really fits the mold. And I would love for the Knicks to go out and do this. I think it would certainly cost them either Emmanuel Quickly or Quentin Grimes. I know Knicks fans aren't the highest on Grimes right now. He had a rough game against the Timberwolves.
Sheesh.
He's just not been as good as we've hoped for this season. And probably, and this is no shade at Grimes, who's an elite defender. I think that OG Anunoby's probably still got a defensive edge on him, as he does basically any player in the league. And I just think it would be an upgrade at the wing for the Knicks. And sure, it would cost them one of their 2 young players, but there's a lot of questions surrounding IQ and a few less questions surrounding Grimes. But it feels like he's similar to Grimes, so it'd sort of be just like an upgrade in that, right?
So first and foremost, we should definitely shout out Ben because OG is from he's playing with the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
Shout out Ben. Second, I should have prefaced saying that within the article, they don't give us exactly the players that the Knicks would give up to get the player that they're talking about. So for OG Anunoby, they don't say that the Knicks would trade Emmanuel Quickly, Grimes, a second round pick. They don't say any of that. They're literally just talking about a player that the Knicks should target. So basically, just to echo what you're saying, I mean, yeah, would it be a good move? Depending on who they give up, yeah. But I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna keep it real. Like this does not move me at all. Do we get a good perimeter defender? Yeah, but like, is this gonna take us over the top? Right now the ceiling for the team is second round of the playoffs. Is this gonna get us over the top? Depending on who we give up. If we give up, ideally, it's probably gonna be quickly. Like you said, Grimes. So OG is gonna replace Grimes, and would I want OG to replace Grimes? I guess you could say that that's a little bit of an upgrade. So that's not bad. But we're losing quickly. That's our 6 man. That's instant offense off the bench. I don't know if I'm willing to give it up. And we're probably gonna add draft picks to that. So I don't know, man. Just again, it's kind of hard to say because we don't know the components of the trade. But as far as OJ and Anobi just being an addition to the Knicks, I mean, yeah, it'll be cool, but I'm not sure if it moves me that much. I don't know if you have anything else to say about OG.
Yeah, no, just basically, I see where you're coming from. I've battled this. Do I think the Knicks should trade for OG, and do I not? For me, it comes down to price, which is exactly what you were talking about. I think it is completely price based. If the Raptors asked for both Quickly and Grimes, I would instantly say no. I don't think it's worth it. What I would say is not the trade that the Raptors would ever accept. They would never do this trade. What I would say is a round affair trade would be Emmanuel Quickly, Evan Fournier's expiring contract.
Fournier.
Yeah, I mean, you need the money. You need the money to work, and Evan Fournier's got an expiring deal. It does open up some money for the Raptors.
Fournier in the doghouse, baby.
Yeah, Fournier speaks French. You got him, Pascal Siakam. You got Chris Boucher up there. He'll fit right in. And then, I mean, I think it's fully price based because if you're giving up multiple young players and multiple picks, and really, if it's multiple young players and even one unprotected first round pick, that's a vast overpay. But I think the deal should be Quickly Fournier, maybe at most a very lightly protected first and then like a more protected first, I think is a fair deal for an expiring contract of OG Anunoby. However, Raptors fans are going to come at me for that, and the Raptors accept that as a whole. So
now, player number 2. So actually, when I was reading the article, this was actually a little bit of a surprise to me. So the second player that Bleacher Report brought up, they brought up Dorian Finney-Smith. And Chris, before we talk about Dorian, let me give you the numbers again. For the season, he is averaging 11.2 points, 5.2 rebounds, 1.4 assists per game. From the field, he is shooting 46.6%, and from three-point, he is shooting 45.1% from three. So, I mean, as far as the three-point clip, that's actually a really good number. Dorian Finney-Smith, what are your thoughts?
I did not know that Dorian Finney-Smith was a 45% shooter from three. So that's interesting. I think with him specifically, there's just not a spot for him on the roster because of how the Knicks bench already looks. They're not going to sit any of DiVincenzo, Quickly, Hart, or Hartenstein. So I don't really know where Dorian Finney-Smith would come into play. And it's not even that I don't think he'd be a good fit on the Knicks. I think he would be an excellent fit on the Knicks. He could actually give them a true, other forward outside of Julius Randle. And I think it would work well, but there's just no way he'd be able to crack the rotation with the way our rotation looks now. So for me, it's a pass.
I mean, I've definitely been watching Dorian Finney-Smith since he came into the league. Yeah, he was part of the Kyrie trade, was sent from Kyrie went to Dallas, and then Dorian Finney-Smith went to Brooklyn. And as far as if this trade somehow happens, he would replace Quentin Grimes as being the primary perimeter defender. And I would definitely be happy with Dorian Finney-Smith. He's bigger than Quentin Grimes. Dorian Finney-Smith is 6'7". Quentin Grimes might be like 6'4", 6'5", so he's a little bit taller, a little bit lengthier. He has a good offensive game. I mean, I'm sorry, man. Like, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but like, this is not really moving me. It's not really moving me, man. I wish the players that Bleacher Report talked about was like, I mean, I'm not saying like Joel Embiid or anything, but like, I mean, I get it. They also they're gonna be talking about the role players, and they're trying to be realistic with what the Knicks can kind of target. But yeah, I mean, again, depending on the pieces that they give up, it's kind of hard to say if we would do the trade, if we wouldn't. But as far as a player, just generalizing, Dorian Finney-Smith, solid player. Really good perimeter defender. He does add some offense to the team. He's expanded his game a little bit more. When he came into the league, he was known as primary a defender. And then every season, little by little, he just kept adding to his game, where to the point now he's averaging 45% from three-point. So definitely a good look. And the last player that Bleacher Report talked about, this player has been linked to the Knicks for the longest. And yes, we are talking about Donovan Mitchell. And for the last time, Chris, let me give you the numbers. So these numbers compared to the other two players, compared to OG and Dorian, it's a really big jump. As far as for the season, Donovan Mitchell is averaging 29.2 points per game, 4.9 rebounds per game, 5.3 assists per game, 48.6% from the field, 39.3% from three-point. So yeah, Chris, this guy's been linked to the Knicks for the last few seasons. I mean, at this point, it's like, if it happens, are you going to be even surprised? Like, what are your feelings towards it?
Well, first things first on that, right? No, I won't be surprised if Donovan Mitchell ends up on the Knicks. I just think he's going to at some point. I feel like it's clear that if you walked up to Donovan Mitchell and said you can choose where you want to play basketball next season and there's zero repercussions to your decision, where would you want to play basketball? He would say the Knicks. And there's a chance he might say the Nets right after that, because this man is not from New York. He's from Greenwich, Connecticut, which is 30 minutes out of New York. But his dad works for the New York Mets. The man is just a New Yorker in every sense of the word that you could say for someone who's not actually like from the New York City metropolitan area. And I think he does want to play on the Knicks. But now we're in a situation, and we've talked about this before. This is not the first time we're saying this. I don't know if I want Donovan Mitchell on the Knicks, and it has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with the way that this Knicks team is constructed. I don't think Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson is a world-changing duo, and obviously they're better than who I'm about to bring up, but it's very reminiscent of Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, where it feels like this is too redundant.
As far as Donovan Mitchell, man, so as far as the three names that we just talked about, yeah, Donovan Mitchell is going to be the one that stands out. Yeah. But like it's not to say that I'm not a fan of Donovan Mitchell, but I'm on the same boat as you. Like, it's not going to be a trade, a tandem of Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell is not going to move me. I'm not going to expect to go to the finals. I'm not really going to be expecting going to the Eastern Conference Finals. And when I take a look at Donovan Mitchell's resume, like when he went to the playoffs with the Utah Jazz for all those seasons, it's like I think the only season where they got past the first round was maybe his rookie season, and they lost to Houston Rockets in the second round. And ever since then, it's the same thing with Donovan when he was with Utah. They had a great regular season, and then in the playoffs, they flamed out because Rudy Gobert had no offensive game and he couldn't expand his game. It was the same story. And I just didn't really see Donovan being that guy that could lead Utah past the promised land into like the Western Conference Finals. And I know the Eastern Conference is a different animal. He's been in the Eastern Conference for a season now. Last season had a very disappointing year. We lost to the Knicks in the first round. But like, I don't see it. Like, I don't really think if we get Donovan, it's like, okay, we finally found a piece. We got it. We're on the way. Like, it's just like we still gotta wait and see. That's why I'm just like, okay, he's offensive minded, but there's nothing really that stands out to me.
All right, Dariel, I have a question for you because as you mentioned, his rookie year, I'm not sure. I think they made the second round one other time. I'm not 100% certain about that, but I do have a question for you about Donovan and just the teams he's been on.
Hit me.
Outside of his rookie year, which was thought to be incredibly impressive because you beat that Thunder team, right. Given that Thunder team for no reason at all started playing Melo at center at times throughout that series, which was weird, and Russ shooting 43 times in game 6 or 7 or whatever it was. But outside of that season, has Donovan Mitchell ever finished a playoff run where it has not been thought of that his team had a disappointing exit?
No.
Exactly.
No.
The 3-1 lead to the Nuggets, right out the window. It felt like that series was over. Against the Knicks, the Cavs are probably expected to win that series because they thought, oh, Donovan Mitchell's going to come into New York. They got Jarrett Allen. They got a good team around them. Darius Garland is good. Like, all of this. Huge disappointment there for the Cavs to lose to the Knicks in 5 games. And obviously the Knicks showed that they were the better team, but still, that was disappointing. They were a 1 seed for half of a season once and either lost in the first or second round. Their teams have been disappointments. You're absolutely correct. Every time that Donovan Mitchell is in the playoffs, it feels like it's been a disappointment to some degree. All right, and one more thing I want to do before we wrap up, I think it would be fun, is if we each talk about realistic trade deadline targets for the Knicks. Maybe not someone that we would like to see the Knicks trade for, but someone who we could see realistically being a name that the Knicks go for and maybe try to acquire for a playoff push.
I hate to say it, man. It's not someone necessarily that I want to see on the Knicks, but the first person that comes to mind is Cat. And it's not even because we paid him last night. It's because he's just been like linked to the Knicks. He's kind of like lingering in that Donovan Mitchell space right now, where he's been linked to the Knicks for so long. Yeah, I feel like I don't want the Knicks to fall into like old ways where like they don't see the season going anywhere. They feel like they got to make a move, and then the first person that's been linked to the Knicks besides Donovan Mitchell is Cat. So they're like, okay, let's make a move. Let's throw Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, draft picks at this guy, and then like that just completely depletes the team. And we did a video on this a few days ago. Like, we don't want to see that. As Knicks fans, we don't want to see that. 1, because it depletes the team. It already messes up the momentum that we had for the season. 2, as far as Cat as a player, like, his basketball IQ just isn't there. I don't feel like he's the missing piece to go alongside Jalen Brunson that's gonna get us over the top. I hate to say this, man. I like Cat as a player, but as far as him becoming a Knick, I don't want to see that happen anymore. There was a time where I was hoping it would happen, but that was a long time ago before I saw his playoff woes. So I don't want it to happen anymore. I'm sorry, Cat. But you are my Dominican brother, so I'm gonna hope you do good for the rest of the season. But yo, Chris, what about you? Do you have a player in mind that you think the Knicks might go after?
I absolutely do. And just to very quickly tie into the Cat thing, I feel very similar about it. We've just talked about this. I just don't think Cat makes sense on the Knicks team. And I agree. I did want him also at one point, but that was a few years back before the playoffs, before we see him foul out in back-to-back elimination games. Stuff like that. I don't think he should be a power forward at all, and definitely not on the Knicks. And the Knicks have Mitchell Robinson, who I think fits better on most contending teams. But someone who I think could be a realistic target, and like you said, I don't really think the Knicks should go for this guy. I think it's something I could see happening. Maybe is Gordon Hayward.
Oh, okay, left field.
So if you look at it, the Knicks are clearly thin at the forward position. That's not a secret. And there was a time where Gordon Hayward was linked to the Knicks in, I believe, 2021. Before he signed the deal with the Hornets, he was linked to the New York Knicks. And that was when Leon and Co were there. And it felt like maybe that could be something the Knicks might do. And I was like, I do not want this to happen. Not at all. But a few years down the line, it's like if he came off the bench, if he gave the Knicks like 15, 20 minutes a night for like half a season and the Knicks are able to get out of that contract, I don't know if there's a player option or if it ends or if there's a team option or whatever. But if they could get him for half a season for a playoff push and not have to give up that much, I would be interested just for forward depth. He's a good veteran, but I don't really want to give up anything for him. And outside of Fournier, you're going to need to fill that cap space up a little. And I don't know. I just don't really feel great about that. But it is someone who I could see the Knicks exploring.
Fournier, we need you out of the doghouse, baby. Nah, but I mean, just piggybacking off the Gordon Hayward name that you threw out. Yo, it's so interesting with him, man, because like sometimes when I see Charlotte on like League Pass or whatever, and I watch Gordon Hayward play, like okay, like you said, he's a solid veteran. You know, you could depend on him. But I also wonder, I was like, what would his career look like if he never had that horrific ankle injury with literally the first game of the season when it was Kyrie, Gordon Hayward, Tatum, Brown. Like I always wonder what his career would look like and what the Boston Celtics. Maybe they would have a banner up by now. But
Possible.
yeah, that's it for this video. But guys, if you guys like the content that's coming out, make sure you smash the subscription button for Knicks Digest. Let's get the subscription numbers up and through the roof. So we'll check you guys out on the next video. Peace.